Hello, hello, hello. How are y'all doing? Before we get started, will you please let me know if you can hear me clearly by typing a one in the chat? If you can hear me clearly, type two. If you can hear me but not so clearly, and we will go on and get this party started. I hope that everyone is doing great tonight. Okay, excellent. Thank you. I got the first one from Valet Pictures. Hello. Let me say some hellos and then we'll get right into this review. Hello, Key and D and Valet Pictures and Courtney Z and Tamara. Okay, I'm going to say some more hellos as we go. If you just see me kind of putting your name on the screen, that is my acknowledgement of you. And listen, I have to say hello to Ashtray Bitch because I remember when she used to come to my live streams, I'm like, Ashtray Bitch. I remember telling her, I'm like, what is that? Did she smoke a lot? And she's just like, I like an ashtray bitch. But that was from some crazy Tyler Perry movie where some ridiculous guy was talking to his woman really crazy. And instead of like asking, honey, will you please pass me the ashtray? He's like, ashtray bitch. And so she uses that as her name. So that is hilarious to me. And we got to say hello to our guy from across the pond, True Crazy Lion, who's going to need to go to sleep sometime soon, I'm sure. And hello, Miss V. Let's get straight into this. Okay, you guys. Oh, and I see. Okay, let me go on and do a couple more hellos. Hello, little Taz. Thanks for coming in. And hello, we got our member and Patreon member, Alicia in the house. Hello. Okay, so you guys, we are here to review season 1, episode 1 of our favorite show. I'm so glad that it's back. I'm so glad, you guys. I was afraid that they had like kind of done away with this show. I love the Gilded Age, and I was so excited to get excited about some scripted TV. I'm like really kind of tired of reality TV at this point, honestly. But I'm glad they gave us something that is scripted, something that is beautiful, and I'm excited about it. So, it's coming back for season 2 starting October 29th, and I'm going to be reviewing it live every Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. So I want you all to get used to my coming on here at this time and reviewing it. And why not? Let's just go over the past season to get us ready for season two. So that is what we are here to do tonight. Hello to 57 Page Fox and Meeker Jake. Hello. Okay, so this starts in New York, 1882, Central Park. That's the first scene that we get. And I do have some pictures that accompany everything, but like it's kind of hard to get those images when, this is like a cable show and everything is like, copyrighted and everything. So I'm just going to like have different scenes on the screen. I think that this is a pretty good place to start with our favorite Aunt Agnes, who is the old money lady. Okay. So what this show is pretty much it's the old money people versus the new money people in New York City when New York City was really becoming like what it is today. This was the start of it all during the Gilded Age, and they decided they would start their show in 1882. If you hear sounds that sound like a dog, it's my dog. That's one of them. They're supposed to be asleep right now. But anyhow, I'm so excited you guys that it's back. So we start off in Central Park in 1882. And also, let me let you know, for those of you who are like just here because I'm here and you're just wanting to support me, you don't even watch this show, you do know that on Tuesdays are when I drop my full blown scandals and my full blown history stories. And so while we're leading up to this show and as the show is going, I'm going to take some of the things out of this fictional period drama, and there are elements in the show that are real, whether they are people, places, or events. And I'm going to tell you stories about those. So since we started at Central Park, the story that you're going to get from me tomorrow is actually about Central Park and one of the villages that was leveled or raised or demolished, whatever you want to say, in order to build Central Park. It was called Seneca Village. But and that was one of many. But I'll talk about that on tomorrow. So I'll have some things that go along with the show, and I'll get into some of those as we review. So we start and we see like these furnishings being driven through Central Park to this huge limestone palace that belongs to the Russell family. Across the street from the Russells is this lovely lady you see on the screen, Aunt Agnes, Agnes Van Ryn, and she is the old money guard, right? She's like been here forever, meaning her family, has been in New York for generations, probably back to before it was called New York. I believe that when it was called New Amsterdam, she goes that far back. And so, like, yes, these new money people have a ton of money, but they don't have the proper breeding. And so she's, in this really lovely brownstone that's like pretty much typical of what the people who had money, that's how they lived. Those were the kinds of places that they lived. And I believe that Morris would have been the name of the architect who was used by a lot of the wealthy people then. But across the street, we have this new fabulous limestone building going up that belongs to the new money family, the Russells. And she looks across the street and sees this, and she's looking in disgust because she doesn't like these new money people. And oh my gosh, they are here. They have landed on her territory, and she's not here for it. And so I'll go on and show you. Let's see here. Here is Bertha. This is Bertha Russell. I really do hate that they gave her the name Bertha. It just sounds so plain, and I don't know if that's just me, but to me, the name Bertha sounds so plain. But this is Bertha seeing her house for the first time without the scaffolding. I'm sorry, house, her palace, for the first time without the scaffolding. And right next to her is her architect, Stanford White. Now, when I was watching the show, I recall Stanford White being the first name that I recognized as a real person. So I will also bring you a video on Stanford White. Maybe that'll be next week. But he was the guy who like kind of revolutionized architecture in New York City. He was like the new guy. He had studied in Europe, and he brought this new style for the nouveau riche, that the old Vanguard, they were not a fan of it. But he has built this palatial estate, and he's walking her into it so that she can see. Now, you guys, let me know what you think. Just say I like it or I don't like it. In general, if you've been watching the show, Bertha's wardrobe, I think it is completely hideous. I think that it's clear based on the fabrics that we see that her, her outfits cost a lot of money. And I think that like the general shape of her dresses, it's great, but it's like always like the patterns that contrast, it's like way too much. But it's clear that she's spending a lot of money, and that is the job of the wives of rich husbands, is to show off their wealth. And she does it every chance she gets, but she's here like literally with tassels hanging all over her. It almost looks like there's a doily draped on top of her dress. I hate her clothing. I hate it. And then like sometimes it's like almost just right. And then there'll be like if she turns to the back, there's some big bow or like big flowers or something that's like, oh no, when you were coming down the stairs, it looks so great. But then when they show the camera on the back, it's awful. So I hate her wardrobe. But anyway, so we've got the new family coming across the street. And as all this stuff is happening, we got some bad news that's going, back across the street, back with Aunt Agnes. Her footman grabs the mail from the mailman, and the mailman tells him, "Hey, it's bad news." And he jokes, "Well, hey, they're old; they get bad news all the time." And the bad news, it was a death announcement, and apparently they had just gotten some bad news the week before. But this time she finds out the sisters. Let me see if I can find. Do I have a picture of just the sisters? Probably not. So let's just go. Let's just go back with Aunt Agnes. So it's Aunt Agnes and her sister, who's played by Cynthia Nixon. They find out that their brother has passed away. Um, Now, that would be bad news, but Agnes was never too fond of her brother. He left them in a really bad position when their father died. Their brother was supposed to take care of them, but he didn't. He wasted their money on women and gambling. Like he did not take care of his family. So she was forced to marry someone who was rich, who apparently was not that great of a guy. And that's kind of how life turned out for her. He is the late General Brooke, and his daughter, her name, I'm sorry, is Marion. Let me see. I know that I have a picture of Marion. This is when she's finding out. This is Marion at her lawyer's office, who has like pretty much dealt with her father's books and tried to clear up, the last of his affairs. And she's basically trying to find out what she's got left to live with. And this is when she finds out that for the first time in her life, that your father does not own the home that you live in. As the attorney's like, well, yeah, once I have cleared off your father's debts, that leaves you with a little bit of money. I have waived my fee. And she's like, oh, there's no need for that. He's like, yeah, actually, there's every need for that. All you have, young lady, is $30, and that's it. And so she's like, but what about the house? He's like, yeah, your house was rented. She's like, no, no, like that can't be right. He's like, yeah, that's exactly right. So your dad's been lying to you. You have nothing. So basically, it seems like her dad, who she corrected him when he called him Mr. Brooks. She's like, General Brooke. Okay, fine, girl. General Brooke has left you generally broke. And so she pretty much, it seems like her dad, I guess he never changed his ways. He left his daughter very much the way he left his sisters. And I wanted to take a second here to just, is Julian Fellows giving us clues about people through their names? Because her name is Marion Brooke. She's broke. And the attorney, I can't remember his first name. I think it's Thomas, but his last name is Rakes. And he turns out to be a rake, as we know, if you've been watching the seasons. But anyway, let's get back to it. So we've got Agnes and Ada. When they learn that their brother is dead, Agnes is just like, hey, Okay, Ada is the nice sister, the sweet sister, Cynthia. Let me go on and just get them on the screen. I don't have just the two of them, but I think that I have when their niece comes into town. Hang on, you guys, just a second. I tried to get a ton of pictures. So yeah, this is um, on the left is Agnes, who we saw earlier, and then on the far right is the sister Ada, and she's the one who actually wrote the letter for Marion to come and live with them. And the sisters feel very differently about their brother dying. The older sister is like, "Look, I didn't feel the need to go to the funeral. It was not worth a long, uncomfortable trip just to find out that our brother was dead." The other sister feels differently and it's like, well, he's our only brother. We should have went, but I wrote so that, our niece can come and live with us because she doesn't have any family and we have a duty to take care of her. Which Agnes, feels away. She replies, well, who's going to take care of her? Yeah, right, me. Because I'm the one who had to marry this Van Ryn guy, and you got to be, a spinster and live basically what she feels is a carefree life. I had to lay up with this guy who was not the best guy. And we don't know exactly why she feels that way about her husband, but we know that she, was not too fond of him and didn't have a lot of good things to say about him. So they get their niece there eventually, but we'll go through the things that she went through in order to get there. And in doing that, we'll talk about another character. Let me say we got some more hellos to get through. Hi, Shining Star. And yes, D, I agree. Her clothing is very gaudy. And we got Tamara in the house. Hello. And Deborah Battles in the house. An Amazing Grace. And is it Angel Sai? I'm so sorry. Thank you for coming. Tell me how to say your name. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Okay, so we've got a lot going on. Ada's definitely happier about the niece coming than Agnes is, but it's a good thing all in all. Okay, and then yeah, Agnes, she doesn't seem to miss an opportunity to let us know that she is the reason why they have some money and her sister needs to be very thankful for her. Okay. And so then we get back over to the palace across the street with Brenda. Brenda. I want to call her Brenda. Her name is Bertha. She deserves a better name than Bertha. I don't think that she's the nicest person, but she deserves a better name. So she is talking to Stanford White, to her architect, and he's like kind of just going through some things and uh, telling her like, okay, yeah, I brought in this piece of whatever from this old European estate, and I got this wall from this old, Habsburg mansion or whatever. He's just going through, and she's like loving pretty much everything that she's seeing. Um, then she gets to sit with her husband in his library. I don't know. Do I have a picture of Brenda and her husband in the library? I'm Brenda, Bertha. I just want to give her a better name, but she doesn't have a better name, so I'll have to stop doing that. Um, I don't have those two in his library, but I'm sure that I've got them together. Let's see here. I thought that I did. Let's see. I'll just put this one on the screen. So that's obviously not the scene that I'm talking about, but so he's talking to his wife and they're going over a few things, and she's just talking about how she's excited about moving up in the world, and she's excited about this new house because according to her, where they lived before, it was not the fashionable part of town, but now they've moved more up north, and apparently that's the way that the city was going, and they were in an unfashionable part of town. But so she lets him know that like, I've already sent letters to the Skirmerhorns and the Astors and the Vanderbilts, like the families that are already established there. And Mrs. Astor, as we know, is the queen of the social scene. And he has a problem with the fact that um, it's even looking like she is going to have to bow down to this woman who, one, has less money than I do. And he says she has less of everything than you do. He's like, so for to him, it's just crazy. Like, why are we doing this? But she's just kind of saying that that's the way that things work, and this is what we're going to have to do to, to get along or whatever. He doesn't like it. And I do want to say, side note, I did see Julian Fellows, who's the creator of this show as well as Downton Abbey, and he said that he did a lot of research on Mrs. Astor, and he found out that pretty much what George Russell is saying there about her, not, about his wife being better than her in every way was true. He said that she was not a great beauty, that she was not like a great, intellect or anything. He never found any any quote of hers that was particularly funny or witty. It was just that she ruled the show. She ruled her class. She ruled these people, and he really didn't understand why. Frankly, I don't understand why, but that's just the way it was. It seems like they were living in an 1880s version of Mean Girls, and for whatever reason, Mrs. Astor ruled, and I totally don't get it. Give me just 1 second, you guys. I'm going to hit this light and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so let's see. We got Sebastian, and is it Bebe Rodriguez in the house? Hello. Thank y'all for coming and hanging out. I want to try to acknowledge everybody as you come in. So let's get back to what's going on. Okay, so now we got George Russell at work. Let's see. I don't have him like in the office, but there he is going to work. That's the guy that we all love. We all want us a husband like George Russell because we love how he takes up for his wife, who is not the best person, all the time. I don't think, but anyhow, um, I mean, and that's another thing that I wanted to mention in the conversation that they had early on. She is making it such a point that I want to get in with these women, these high society women. But when he mentions their old friends, she's like, "Oh yeah, we got to leave those people behind. Like they are yesterday's people." And so it makes me not feel badly for her that she's not able to get what she wants out of these society women because she's no different from them. She's not good enough for these society women, but now all of a sudden, because they have moved into this palatial estate, her old friends are not good enough for her. So she kind of deserves the treatment that she's getting in the beginning. Not that the society women are right, but she's pretty, snooty herself. So anyway, um, we get him at work and we get our first glimpse into his cutthroatedness when he's talking to the guy who works for him, and he's talking about how he wants to build this long line of rail that like stretches almost across the country, but he's got somebody basically in Ohio holding him up, and he wants to buy the rail from this guy. And he's made him two offers and the guy still hasn't agreed to it, and so he lets the man who's working for him know, well, I'll just build my rail right next to his. And the guy who works for him is like, yeah, that's gonna like put him out of business, though, right? And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So he's just like, hey, I gotta make my point, and so I guess what people are gonna know that they need to agree with him. This man is a force to be reckoned with. So then we get Marion now that she realizes that her father was, not the best guy with money. Um, let's see here. Do we have her being taken to the train? I thought that yeah, okay. So that's her attorney coming to pick her up, to take her to the train so that she can go and live with her aunts. That is the option that she's come up with because it's really the only option that she has. So he goes to pick her up, lets her know, "Hey, you're looking kind of, ooh, you look kind of tired and ragged, girl. Well, yeah, I'm flat broke, and so that's kind of given me some sleepless nights over this last month, and I'm going to live with some people who I don't know. So yeah, but thanks for letting me know that I don't look my best, you know. And so he takes her to the train station so that she can go and get on her way to go and live her new life, and that is where she meets Peggy. Let's see here. Do I have a picture of her and Peggy at the train station? I guess I don't. Um, I thought that I did. But anyway, they finally meet each other, and these girls, they develop a friendship. I don't know that I would just call them friends for sure, but they do develop a friendship. And a lot is going on at this train station. So there's that picture. Okay. So they meet up, and we get Mr. Rakes. He's dropping her off, and he asks if he can write her, and she's like, no. He's like, no, no, no. I mean, for business. She's like, oh, well, then yeah. And which, if that's the case, if that's all that he wanted, then he shouldn't have needed to ask that. Like, if some more business came up, with her father and his debt, then he should have just said, I'll write you if something else goes up. But so I don't think that that's what he meant. I think that he just changed his mind after it seemed like he turned her down. So while they're at the train station, though, these two guys who clearly are professional pickpockets, they make this big ruckus, and they look like they're just getting into this fight that lands right where these two women are sitting. And when the scuffle is over and they're gone, so is Marion's purse with her last $30 to her name. And so, quite naturally, she's panicking, and she asks Peggy, "Excuse me, did you see a purse?" After all the commotion's over, Peggy's like, "No," and she's like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "Well, it has all of my money in it and my train tickets, and I've got to get to New York." And Peggy's like, "Girl, I'm sorry." Peggy's got to get on the train, and Marion says, "Well, it's not your problem. I don't mean to hold you up," because people are boarding the train at this time. And Peggy tells her, "Well, it's basically you're not holding me up. We have to board last," meaning we, the black people who are getting on this train. And it didn't even occur to Marion that like that's what was going on until Peggy said it. She's like, "Oh, I see," she says. And so she goes to like the, I don't know, train conductor or whoever, the ticket guy for the train. I don't know about traveling on trains like that. And she lets him know, like, "Hey, I kind of lost my ticket. Can you help me?" He's like, "Look, if you don't have a ticket, you're not getting on here." So Peggy sees this happening, and she pays for her ticket. Basically, she's loaning her train fare, but she pays for her ticket to get to New York. And I thought that that was an interesting moment because two things I think happened right there, and it was about the girls and their access. So the first thing, when Marion says, like, I lost my money, Peggy says to her, "Well, like, don't you live here? Can't you just go home and get some more?" And for Peggy, which it's like kind of a strange thing for people to I guess grasp, because they're just seeing a black woman and a white woman and thinking automatic privilege goes to a white woman. Peggy does come from money. And so for Peggy, when you have a privilege, like your thought kind of just, that's what your thought process is. Peggy's thinking, if I had lost all my money, I'd just go home and get some more, which is what she's telling this girl to do, not realizing that this girl has no money. But then Marion is realizing that while Peggy has access to money, or I guess we're realizing it, but what we see is while Peggy has access to money, Marion has access to literally everything else. One, because she is white, but two, because she comes from a family of a privileged background. Even if she only had $30 in her pockets at that time, she was on her way to something that was much better than where she was. If only she could get there, right? Which Peggy helps her out with. And so I thought that that was just kind of cool to see that happen. So here we go. We got now Larry and Bertha. Okay, so Larry is the son of Bertha and George Russell. Do I have a picture of Larry? Let me see if I've got him. He's a little cutie. I think that I would like to see him and Marion end up together. Let's see. Do I have him at home? Maybe I don't, but I'll just show this picture of Larry for now. This is a little bit farther along in the plot, but look, you guys, we're a year late, so just bear with me. Um, oh wait, that's not him, but that's the point. Okay, so that's Larry all the way on the far right. He's made it back home from Harvard, and it's time for him to sow some wild oats or royal oats or whatever. So he's getting ready to go to this party. But it's clear that Larry is not as impressed with this big old house as his mother is. His mother's like, "Oh, do you see the panels in your room? Those came from XYZ European castle." Larry's like, "Okay, that's great. Where's my suitcase?" Like he doesn't care. He's not impressed with this huge house. He's not impressed with his mother's social climbing. He's just a different kind of a kid. And actually, the mother, Bertha, you want to call her Brenda. Bertha is the only one who seems to be like really thrilled about the prospect of social climbing in New York City. Nobody else seems to care, literally. When he talks to Bertha, his main question is like, when are you going to let Gladys come out? So he has a little sister named Gladys, who I'm guessing, you guys, is got to be 16 or 17 years old, because that's about the age that those society girls would start coming out, meaning like have their like debutante ball as grown women, like I'm on the market, where's my rich guy type of thing. And Bertha has not done that yet for Gladys, who is the younger daughter. And so she's kind of like a prisoner at home because she's still being treated like a child, but she should be able to go out and have a little bit of a life of her own. That's her sitting at the table, the one who looks like a 12-year-old. This actress is a grown woman. Her name is Thaisa Farmiga, and but she's like literally a grown woman. But I said when I talked about this yesterday, if someone would have told me that she was 12, I would have believed it. So like excellent casting there. She really does look very young. So that's all that Larry wants to know. He doesn't care about his mom's social climbing when his mom is aware that he's going to a party at Miss Fish's in Newport. Now, here comes another person who existed in real life. The lady who was throwing the weird parties in Newport, making them play games and made them feel uncomfortable. Miss Fish, she's someone who existed in real life. So I will do a video about her as well. And that's like, again, for the people who thank you if you're here and you don't even follow the show. You're just here because I'm live streaming. But Miss Fish is a person who existed. And so I'm going to make content around the show about the real things from the show so that people who don't follow it, they can follow it along just like they did with my Titanic content. So, dinner at the Russells. Okay. This made me not like Bertha Russell even further, or feel sorry for her that she can't make the friends that she wants, because she's doubling down on this, whole thing about how I don't care about our old friends, and she's decided that she's, going to start inviting people over. And her husband asks her, "Well, what about your sister coming over? What about inviting her?" She doesn't even want to invite her old sister. Her sister is not fashionable enough for this crowd that she wants to break into, that she's not even a part of yet. And George is just saying, I miss our old friends. What about some of them? And Bertha's just like, nope, nope, we're going in a different direction. I don't want my old friends. I want new ones. That's literally what her quote was. She told him. And at that dinner, Gladys tries to talk about their dad's work, well, basically like, so dad, how were things at the office today? And Bertha's like, stop, don't bore us with that. And Gladys is like, well, yeah, I think that, his work is kind of important. It's how we're able to live this lifestyle. And that's when Bertha just cuts her off and starts talking about how we need some new friends. We need to get in the society crowd. So I think that like her family is just completely over her just, insatiable desire to be a part of these women who don't want to be anywhere near her. So then we get Peggy and Marion, they've made it like off of the train and they're getting ready to go their separate ways, but then bad weather stops them. So Peggy's supposed to be able to get on a ferry and get to Brooklyn, and then Marion's going to go her separate way and get to her aunt's. But it's just not going to be able to happen. Hey, Cotton Candy and Eddie Thorne, and I think I said hi to you, Sebastian, but I'm trying to say hi to everybody as you all come in. And so let's see here. So they thought that they were going to say goodbye, but then uh, immediately Marion's able to return some kind of favor to Peggy. It's not her money. Peggy still wants her money back, but she's like, "Hey, I can't leave you stranded out here. Why don't you come with me to my aunt's and just stay there for the night?" And so she does that. And you can imagine that when Peggy showed up to the aunt's house, everyone was surprised that this black woman is showing up. And um, Marion goes up to tell her aunts, like, "Hey, this colored woman loaned me train fare. You're gonna need to pay her back. I had this horrible situation go on." And of course, Agnes was like, "Wait a minute, some colored woman gave you money to get here. What are you talking about?" So she's like, "Yes, that's what happened. Can she please stay because the weather's bad?" Okay, well, let me see her and blah blah blah. So Peggy's good for the night. Now, Agnes, Ada, and Marion, after they get Peggy squared away, then the three of them are able to settle down and have their own conversation. So I think I can just go back to, oh no, not that one, not yet. Where is the picture of all of those women? I showed it earlier. Let's see. I just had it. And trust me, when we get to the actual season, I'll have this more organized because I had to like kind of go all over the place to get pictures from season one. And it wasn't the easiest thing for me to do, but if I'm watching the show, like, in real time, I won't have so many of these like long pauses because I'm trying to get to the right pictures. But let's see. Okay, so here, after they got Peggy squared away, they're able to sit down and just have a discussion and kind of see where Marion's head is. Like, girl, what are you planning on doing? Have you made any plans? Blah blah. Of course she hasn't. She doesn't know anyone, so no, she's not made any plans. She's just landed in this completely new place. Um, she's mourning for her father, so she shows up in all black. But we know that Agnes doesn't really care about Marion's father. First thing that she lets her know is that you're going to need to get some new clothes, bright colors. And back then they took the period of mourning very seriously. If a loved one died or something like that, you would be, wearing black, your black mourning clothes for at least 6 months. And that's what Marion tells her. She's like, "Oh, well, I can't just start wearing bright colors. I'm still in mourning for my father." And Aunt Agnes is like, "Hey, nobody knows your sorry ass dad is dead. Nobody knows that here. You're a beautiful girl. You need to get out on the scene and start meeting some young people. So I'm going to get your aunt to take you to my dressmaker tomorrow, get you some bright colored clothes because we don't care about your dead dad. He left all of us broke." So, but she also schools her on how things work here. We do not receive the new people here. We are the old people because you are related to us. You are the old people and not the new, never the new, which was the name of the episode. She lets her know that we don't play those new money people. Okay, so there. She's old New York by birth, and that's just the way it is. Okay, so from there, Peggy, how is she faring after she gets, settled in and after they've got her squared away? Uh, my uh, my gain is up too high on my mic. Okay, so Peggy goes down there to meet the servants. And for the most part, she gets a warm reception. The guy who I was calling Jack yesterday, his name is Jack. His name is John, but y'all know for some reason Jack is a nickname for John. I've never understood. So he's listed in his credits as John, but when you hear people talk to him, they do say Jack as well. So Jack and Mrs. Bauer, the older lady with the gambling problem, and Bannister, the butler, they all receive her very well. At first, the young lady on the left with the bonnet on, the young Irish woman, she certainly has a problem. She's got the whole, her name is Bridget, and she's got the whole, well, but the blacks are coming here to take our jobs. She's a young Irish woman. And that is a real thing that black people and Irish people did compete for work, like for, like we're working class people, lower working class people, and they did compete for a lot of the same jobs. However, they have no idea that Peggy is an educated woman and is about to outrank all of them in that house. She's okay. Your job is not in danger. You can still be a maid. Peggy's about to be a secretary because she can read and write well, and she has ambitions beyond that. She wants to be a writer, but it's okay. Y'all's jobs are okay. So um, Bertha gets an invitation and she is so excited. It's her first invitation, and she's just thinking that it's all coming together. She's going to be able to go to this charity event. Finally, I got my first invitation. They want me to come there. And her husband lets her know, he's like, girl, it's not about you. They want your money, but hey, go off, sis. If you're happy, go ahead. So she's excited. And then Peggy gets a little good news too later on that day, I guess. She gets hired by Agnes. Agnes needs some help. Agnes can tell that Peggy doesn't really want to go home. She doesn't know what the situation is, and she doesn't ask. She just lets her know, like, hey, I can tell that you've got some reservations about going home. I don't know what it is, but if you want a job here, you've got one. So Peggy has a new job. She's ecstatic about it. So she's got what she needs for now. But then after we get Bertha very excited about getting her invitation, Agnes gets the same invitation that Peggy got. And it was the charity event. Let me ask you all, does anyone here in the chat remember what the charity event was, what they were raising money for? Let me know if y'all remember, because that actually blew my mind. I thought that it was quite funny um, what they were raising money for. If you remember, just type it. I'm going to give y'all a few seconds and see if anybody remembers what it was. I thought that it was funny because it made me laugh, but in real life, this would be so awful. Let me know. Hi, Teresa and Inga. Um, Okay, so no. So the first charity event that they got invited to, Agnes got the invitation. It was addressed to her, but she gave it to Marion because she let Marion know that they'll be happy to have a willing pair of hands. They'll want some money from me, but they'll be happy to know that I've got a niece. And when she hands Marion the invitation, Marion reads, "Training orphans to be servants." Those were the words that she spoke reading the invitation. They are raising money for poor mothers and orphans, and they are using the money to train orphans to be servants in their homes. That is what the fundraiser was, and I was just like, this is quite terrible. But it did make me laugh. So Turner is the lady's maid of Bertha. And do I have a picture of Turner? That awful woman. Let's see here. I might not have a picture of her. Do I have just the downstairs ladies? Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. Let's see. Man, I thought that I got a picture of that awful woman. Okay. I don't have a picture of her. So anyway, it's okay. So it's back to Bertha. Her maid. Her maid was helping. Hi, Amazing Grace. um, okay, so her maid is just roaming around the palace and she sees Mr. Russell in his office and she just starts like she's just kind of standing there staring at him and he's like hello, to her, are you looking for your mistress? And she says, oh no, no, I was just, I guess I'm just walking around not doing my job. And she says something very nice to him and his valet sees her talking to him. His valet's name is Watson, and he kind of checks. He checks her a little bit, like, "Hey, girl, like, you know, don't be getting too close to the master of the house." But she's making it very, very plain that she is interested in her employer's husband because technically Bertha is her employer, but we know that he's making the money, but still she's like she's not hiding it at all. She's not hiding it at all. So Larry is out there, again in Newport. He got the invitation to go and hobnob with all those people that his mother is like, oh, please, get in good with the Astors, get in good with the Fishes, because we want to be able to give them some invitations to our house and all that, whatever. And it's just not happening. Hey, Cotton Candy. So he gets out there and he does get to meet Oscar, the cousin there in the middle, Marion's cousin, who we'll learn more about really soon. But I just got to say, I wish that I had a front shot of it. I don't know if I have a front shot, but that dress that Carrie Astor is wearing, I loved that dress. Some of the, like, pretty much all the young women, I loved almost everything that they wore. Um, the only one, in my opinion, who got it wrong like all the time was Bertha Russell. Some of the older women got it wrong often, but Bertha got it wrong like almost all the time. But I love this dress, this outfit that Carrie, sorry, Astor is wearing. Then we got to Peggy and Dorothy Scott. Peggy is the black girl, the main character, and Dorothy Scott is her mother. They meet at this black social club, which you can see that it's like an upscale kind of place. Everyone is dressed nice. And I love seeing that coming just pretty much 15 years out of slavery, that we see Black people who aren't living in squalor. They're not all just servants or, running around with no shoes on, trying to, escape a plantation. There's a bustling upper middle class in Brooklyn, and that's the set that Peggy comes from. And so her mom meets up with her. Peggy, that was one of the stipulations of being employed by Agnes. Agnes said that she was not going to have any any fugitives at her house. And I need to know that you've gotten in touch with your parents if you're going to live here. So Peggy makes an appointment to meet up with her mom, did ask her mom to bring her some clothes. And they sat down and talked. Her mom, of course, wants her to be back home. She's begging her to make up with her father, and we don't find out exactly what the deal is with Peggy and her father. Why there's tension between them. And Peggy's just saying, no, I'm not making up with him, and you don't understand because you weren't there. And her mom, like any mom, is asking her, well, what are you doing for money? And she's like, I'm fine. She's like, I'm earning money. I've got my room and board taken care of. I've got food to eat. I'm good. But like any mom, I have some money for you. Take this money. And Peggy's like, no, I'm fine. Look, I'm your mother. I'm still allowed to give you money. Take this money. Raise your hand if that is your mother. I don't care. Look, you guys, I'm almost 50. If my mom sees me, I could literally tell her I won the lottery yesterday. I won $2 million. My mom's like, well, here's another 2,000. You never know when you're gonna run out of money. Just like listen. My mom is very generous, just like peeling peeling off $100 bills and just like, no, you need money. You need money, right? So that is and it's great to have parents like that, right? Shout out to all the great parents. Okay, so but her mom is like, yeah, take this money, girl. I don't, because her mom still doesn't know like exactly what's going on, but just take this money. Like that's the least I can do. So they get to the charity event where they are raising money to help orphans become servants. I mean, I guess that's a step up. And there are just like a ton of awkward introductions because now finally the old money people are coming face to face with the new money, Miss, Bertha and her daughter, and they've been avoiding them like the plague for as long as they could, but now they're in the same place and they've at least got to say hello. So that's pretty much all that happened there. Now I don't have a picture of her, but you'll remember if you watch, there was a lady named Mrs. Chamberlain, and she's even worse than Bertha Russell. Like, and she's not even one of the new money people, so to speak. She's worse. Like, uh, she's the same, like right along with pickpockets and robbers. If you see that woman, look away. She's there too. So but we get past that. They're there. It's not what Bertha thinks it's going to be. Bertha thinks that that she's just like in there now, and that's not what it is. They're still very standoffish. They do want her money, but they are not interested in her. So then we got George, and I think that the guy's name was Thorburn. That is so George at work with the railroad guy who didn't want to, accept his offer to let me just buy your rail line because you're right in the middle of some line that I'm building to get further across the country. He didn't take him up on that offer, and he should have, but this is where, in my opinion, we get the first big dig energy move from George Russell. And if all the ladies didn't fall in love with him here, they'll fall in love with him later. But this is where George lets this guy know, um, I'm going to go on and just build my rail line right next to yours. And the guy's like, well, he's talking to George in a very condescending way. And he's saying, well, but I thought that we were going to negotiate. Don't you understand? There's this thing called negotiation, and that's what I was waiting for you to come with a third and better offer. And so George lets him know basically, I'm going to make an example of you. I gave you an opportunity. You did not accept my first offer. You did not accept my second offer. So now I'm going to build my own rail line right next to yours. To which the guy's like, well, yeah, but that's going to put me out of business. And George is like, well, yeah, I know. But I gave you an opportunity. And so the guy's like, so you're just telling me you're going to waste all this money spending all this rail line when you can just buy mine at a reasonable price? Which George, I'm sure, thinks, yeah, in the long run, that sounds like a great idea and it would save me money right now. But in George's mind, this is an investment because the word is going to get out what I've done to you. And when you are financially ruined and everyone knows, then everyone's going to be on notice to take my second offer. My second offer is my final offer. And I'm going to tell you, if I were a gentleman doing business around that time and I'd heard about this going down and George came to me with an offer, I would take his first offer. I would not take any chances. So this is George's move saying, do not play with me, fool. Hey, Tammy, my crafty styles. Tammy's in the house. Hey, girl. Um, so yeah, he's made an example out of this guy. And so now this guy has lost all of his money because he did not want to accept George's offer. So then back at Newport, our tacky cousin, our tacky cousin, Oscar, he gets a letter about his new cousin, who we know is Marion, the cute, young, blonde Marion. And he lets Larry and Carrie know that yeah, my mom's just written me that we've got a new cousin in town, and I'm sure she's got a face like a cabbage and a body to match. So yeah, he's not thinking very highly of his cousin. We know that his opinion will change once he sees her, and it goes like he overcorrects actually once he sees her, but we'll talk about that. Then we got the Russells. Back over there, Bertha. She let that taste of the good life at the charity event go to her head, and so now she's ready to throw a party in her big palace. She lets George know that the girlies want to come to my house. They've been talking about how they've been seeing it being built, and they want to get over here. And she totally did not read the room correctly. Like, yes, they saw it and they were commenting on it, but they were not complimenting it. They're just like, "Oh, you're the one in that big house." But what they weren't saying, but what they were thinking was that big old tacky house, that big old tacky limestone house. It looks ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous in the midst of our brownstones, which were perfectly fine and suitable to the way we live. But she thinks that, they love her. She thinks she's in the in crowd. And George, again, knows better. And he's telling her they are interested in our money. They're not interested in our home or our family or you. They don't care. But she's just like, look, I'm just gonna plan a small, intimate party for only 200 people. We'll have an at home, which is kind of like, I guess, a housewarming for super rich people, but like no one's expected to bring a gift. Just come and look at my palace type of situation. So that's what she's planning because she thinks that people are going to come. Then downstairs at the Van Ryans, where are their servants? I'll just put their servants. Um, Jack seems to be the only one who understands that eventually Agnes is going to have to give in to these nouveau riche people. And because they're having a conversation about how, they met up at that charity event. And everybody's like, "Oh, is it true?" Because like that's where the real gossip goes on amongst the servants. And Bannister, her butler, just kind of shuts the conversation down. He's like, "Okay, so like, what does it matter to you if she has to give in to these people or not?" So anyway, back at the other, let's see, where are the Russells' servants? Do I have their servants? I don't know if I was able to get a picture of their servants. Maybe I wasn't. Hmm. Okay. Doesn't look like I have a picture. So back at Brenda's house, back at the palace across the street, her servants are talking too because now they have this big event that they need to plan because she is convinced that everybody wants to come over and see her home. So their chef, their French chef Baudin, is just complaining about having to cook for all of these people. And Turner, her lady's maid, is, I'm sorry, for lack of a better phrase, being a bitch, saying that people are not going to want to come see Miss Russell at this house. This house is so big and stupid. And Watson, once again, the valet, checks her. But he does say, because she's just saying, "Oh, she's a loser and no one's going to care." And but he's like, "Well, no, people like successful people, and Mr. Russell's successful, so they're going to want to come." He says, "People want to know you when you're a success. It's when you fail that they turn their backs." And everybody kind of thinks that, that's about something beyond the conversation regarding their employers. Everyone kinds of catches that and they feel a little bit differently. And so Turner, though, she's the one who asks, "Are you holding something back?" And even their butler was like, "You sound a little bit bitter. Like, what's going on with that?" And so he's like, "No." He's like, "I'm not keeping any secrets. I'm just saying." And Bodana's like, "Well, if you're not keeping secrets, you're basically the only man on the face of the earth who is not." And we know that Bodan has a secret that he is keeping that we'll get to. But I want to ask y'all, and I'm looking at the comments right now, what do you all think is the deal with the valet? Because okay, the valet, remember, I don't have his picture up here, I don't think. He's the bald guy who he'll go for walks and everybody's like, where's he walking? What's he doing? And then finally, like near the end of season one, we see that he goes and he looks at some house. He's standing, in my opinion, it doesn't really look like he's behind a tree. He looks like he's very much in plain sight of the lady he's staring at. But he's looking at some woman, and he's just kind of like shaking his head. He looks almost like it, like in pity of himself. And then he goes back, but we know that he goes off and he takes these walks, but he's gone to some place that looks like it's really nice. There's a really nicely dressed woman there. What do y'all think is his deal? I'm actually, let me see if y'all have any thoughts about that. I'm looking. Tamara says, she said, you don't know, you've been trying to figure that out. See, and the way that he said it, he says, people want to know you when you're a success. Is when you fail that they turn their backs. And I don't think that it's like by chance that everyone in the servants' quarters was like, what do you mean by that? Because everyone knows, like, you're not talking about Mr. and Mrs. Russell right now. So, like, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that he was like a rich guy before, and somehow he lost his station, and he has to? No, I'm not talking about church. No, no, I said his name. I'm talking about Watson, the valet, not the butler. I'm talking about Watson, the valet, the bald-headed guy. I don't have his picture up here, but no, not church. The valet, the valet. His name is Watson. Um, let's see. Bebe says he was married to an upper echelon society woman and lost her because he couldn't keep up. I think that it's, yeah, I think it's something more like that, but they haven't like said it. But that's what I think, that it's something more like that. But I want, but if he was, then he would have had to have had money, like to, especially in that day and age, like an upper echelon woman isn't going to marry someone if he's a valet. So I kind of feel like he had money and status, and somehow he lost it. But I'm looking forward to finding out what that is. I'm looking forward to finding out like his storyline. Um, so then Larry meets Marion. The son across the street meets the niece across the street. The new money son and the old money niece, they meet each other when she's out walking the dog. And the dog gets away from her. And so he picks it up and saves it from like being run over by a carriage. And I saw some sparks there. Maybe it's just because I wanted to see them. But I would like to see something happen between those two. I think that he seems like a really sweet young man for her. I don't know. I would like for something to happen there. Um, let's see. Oh, and remember, he is the one who the cousin said that, yeah, Oscar told him, oh, I've got a cabbage faced cousin moving in. So I'm sure that he was surprised to look at Marion and see that she definitely does not have a cabbage face. She's got quite a nice face, that she doesn't look like a cabbage at all in the face or in the body. She's nice looking girl. So let's see here. Then we get Ada, Agnes, and Marion. They are riding through Central Park. And I think that was really such a beautiful scene. And I don't think I have any pictures of that. They were riding through the park, and Bertha's invitation comes up. So Bertha has started sending out her invitations to her at home, and they got one in the mail that Marion got a hold to, and she passes it to Aunt Agnes, who lets her know, no, you're not going. You're not going. And while we're on the subject of undesirables, Marion also asks, well, who is Mrs. Chamberlain? And Agnes is like, how do you know that name? And she lets her know, well, she was at that charity event that we went to. And Agnes is like, so what, are they just letting in everybody there? Were there thieves and pickpockets and killers, were murderers there too? And so she's like, look, when you see that woman, just turn your head, okay? Just turn your head away. She's horrible. That's all that she will tell her. She won't tell her what the deal was. But on that ride through Central Park, she lets her know that your cousin Oscar is friends with John Adams, the grandson of President Quincy Adams, and he might be a good match for you. So I want you to wear one of your really pretty bright dresses when he comes over, because this could be something big for you. We know differently though, don't we? Okay. So then Marion gets to meet Oscar. I don't have them meeting each other, but remember, this is Oscar, the guy who was calling her Cabbage Face. He meets her, and he also sees that she doesn't have a cabbage face. And John Adams, the president's grandson, also meets her, and there are no sparks there. She's clearly flirting with him and letting him know that, like, this is my first time in New York. Where places do you think that I should visit? Do you have any places in mind? He says, "Oh, I'm sure that your aunts will have guides to some fabulous museums," and he shakes her hand, and that is it. However, the sparks fly when Oscar meets her, shakes her hand, and says, "Well, shouldn't we just kiss? I mean, we are cousins after all." So he's pleased with her face, and apparently the rest of her too. So yeah, Oscar is creepy. Then downstairs at the Russells, we got Turner, the lady's maid, continuing to bash Bertha for not knowing the ways of the old people, as they are planning on this at home where nobody's going to show up. She was right about that. But she's like, no one's coming here to see this house. Nobody cares about this stupid big old house. She thinks that they're coming here. They're not going to come. She doesn't know their ways. But as she's saying all of this, that's really a reflection on her, because it's known that Bertha does not know the ways of the old people. She is nouveau riche. She's not from the old families. Apparently, she grew up very poor. Even her kid, even Larry, her son, like kind of ranks on her for for growing up poor later on in the season. But she was hired. Turner was hired because she worked for a woman who was a part of the old vanguard, and she was hired to show Bertha the way. But rather than showing her, she keeps just dumping on her and saying, "Oh, she doesn't know anything." But so, like, really, yeah, girl, that's a reflection on you. That means you're not doing your job. You're spending too much time staring at this woman's husband, which I understand. Okay, I get it. Uh, I would like a piece of George Russell as well. I said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. George Russell, um, I don't want to come between you and Brenda. Okay, I'm not like Turner. I'm not a hater. I don't want what belongs to someone else. However, if you have a brother who is interested in Black women and who has 75% of your ambition and your drive and the love that you have for your woman, then tell him to holler at me. Okay. Like we said yesterday, we know that these people love to go to a good opera for entertainment. And after that opera is over, we know that y'all like to clap because you saw a really good performance. And after you're done clapping at the opera, you're welcome to come and clap these cheeks, because that man, girl, Turner, I get it. I know why you're looking at him. However, you're about to lose your job messing with this lady's man. Okay. So stop focusing on him and help this woman out, and stop talking about what a failure she is, because you've been hired to make her a success. So, opening night jitters. So we've got the people, they're finally coming over, and she's just like so excited. We've got, all this food made up, and the chef, he's like on edge because she told him to prepare for 200, but there might be some extra people who show up. So just in case more people show up, I want you to have some extra food. And so he's just like, why is she talking like, I'm just making ham sandwiches here? Like, if more people show up, what am I going to do? So he doesn't know what to do with himself. He's like beside himself too. He's tired of it. He's over it. Just let it be over. But the people are getting ready to come. And this is her having the conversation with her husband before all of the people pour in. And again, why I refuse to feel sorry for her, because she's still making the points to George that her old friends are not good enough. George tells her, because he knows, he's like, I love you, but I realize that my love is not enough for you. The love that he has for her, all the money that they have, all this big palace that they have, everything that they have is not enough for her. He says, you've come a long way. She's like, I know, but I want to go all the way. And he's like telling her, I wish that you had invited some of our friends. We're going to have a house full of strangers. Well, luckily for him, you won't, because no one's coming. But he just meant, I would like to have some people here that we know as well. And she's like, no, those are yesterday's people. We need to be moving upward and onward. Those people, forget those old friends of ours. They're losers. They're stuck down there on 30th Street. We're up here on, 61st and 5th Avenue. That they need to get like us. So I don't feel sorry for her when she's got egg on her face and nobody shows up for her event. Ada and Marion have a discussion, and Ada explains why Agnes hates her dad. Um, Marion, of course, her feelings are hurt because she loves her father and she doesn't understand why her aunt, was telling her that, you're not going to be mourning about your dad here. We don't really care about your dad over here. Basically, yeah, it was like, F your father. He left us penniless when our dad died, so we don't care. So put on some bright clothes. There's not going to be any mourning him. Get on with it. But Marion does take time to talk to her, and she tells her, um, look, this is what happened. When our father died, your dad was supposed to take care of us. He was the son, he was the oldest. He was supposed to take care of the affairs and make sure that we were all good, but he did not do that. Instead, he sold everything that we owned, and he went and spent it selfishly on himself, and he left us with nothing. So my sister, your aunt, had to go and marry someone who she didn't love just to keep the family on top, to keep things going, to keep things afloat. And so, yeah, she does not like your father, um, but she has her reason. And the thing is that should not be a surprise to Marion, because Marion knows what her father did to her. Marion knows. She just sat there in the attorney's office and listened to him rattle off all these things that she did not have, that she thought that she had. Um, and so he's got to tell her, like, here's $30 for you. And the only reason that you even have that is because because I have waived my fee. I'm not going to charge you anything. So that's that. So hopefully she'll have some understanding. She needs to give her aunt, cut her some slack, right? So Bertha, I wish that I had the picture of Bertha's dress. I was not able to find it, but I remember it was hideous, like most of them. She looked really great coming down the stairs, but she had these huge, gigantic flowers all over her train. And it just looked so stupid. But, it's just like, hey, I've got extra money. Let me just throw some extra material on my dress. It looks so awful. Um, Peggy knows that Marion wanted to go to that ball, and so she decides that she'll help her sneak over. I'll just go in and put, there's Marion, after she snuck across the street through the servants' quarters to get over to the ball. Aurora Thane, I don't have her picture, but she's one of the old money ladies who Bertha met at the charity event. One of the ladies who's interested in Bertha's money, and she makes it very clear when she shows up to Bertha's at home, and without a +1, without her husband, without that other lady. I'll have her name on the next episode, because she didn't really have a big part here, but she lets her know, oh, well, I just thought that I could, stay a few minutes and then go. Like, girl, you're saying, I thought that I could just come in here, drop by, and pick up a big fat check from you. Bertha was insulted because Bertha did not listen to her husband, who told her, they are not interested in you, they are interested in our money. So she's just like, well, okay, I understand what you're saying. You can go though. And Aurora's standing there looking embarrassed, like, please go. She says it loud. Please go loudly, excuse me. And so Aurora left, as she should have. Hi, Plucky. How are you doing? And so Bertha gets pissed because Marion has to leave too. Marion snuck over there. Again, Marion does not have autonomy. She's living with her aunts. She's broke. She's just glad that she's got a roof over her head. Thanks to her aunts letting, so pretty much her aunts do control her life until she gets married or is able to find a way to get some money of her own. So she's already defying them by being there, which Bertha knows. Bertha made the point to say, ask her when she came in, where are your aunts? And she's like, oh, they couldn't make it. And so Bertha knows, though she gets it. She's like, okay, but you're made of sterner stuff than they are. And, I appreciate you for coming. So when Aurora Fane gets kicked out, um, Marion lets her know, well, I've kind of got to go too. And Bertha's like, oh, what are you going for? Oh, yeah. And so George has to tell her, hey, don't be mad at her. But the kids, her kids, Gladys and Larry, they made a pact like, hey, no matter what these adults are doing, let's, we should stick together. Right. And I did like that. And so, yeah, George told her to just chill. And Stanford White again was there, and he let her know, like, hey, don't feel too bad about it. These old money ladies, they know that you're what's new. They're old. They're on the way out. You're on the way up. You're on the way in. So he's like basically saying they're haters. That's like, I guess, his 1880s 82 way of saying that they're haters. Don't be so upset about it. Then downstairs, though, at the Russells, they're being told to send all of that food that that their chef was stressing about preparing. Um, he's being told that all of this food, and this isn't even, I couldn't even get the whole spread in the shop. That's got to go to charity now. Just send it away. I mean, it was several turkeys, there was lamb chops, there was all kinds of fish and lobster and blah blah blah. He did a catering for 200 people, and two guests showed up and they both had to leave early. So yeah, all that food had to go back. So quite naturally, the servants, they're back to talking and gossiping, and yeah, it was a failure. So Turner continues to insult Brenda some more. She calls her a failure. But then Watson, again, the valet, who somebody even mentions they think that Watson might have a crush on Turner himself, but he calls her out and he says, "Oh, okay. So since you think that Mrs. Russell's a failure, what about Mr. Russell? Do you think that he's a failure?" To which she does not reply. And he's doing that because he knows that she's got the hots for Mr. Russell. I don't like Turner, but I get it, girl. I got the hots for him too, but you're wrong. You're just wrong. Leave that man alone. Leave him alone. So Peggy and Marion, after everything is winding down, they kind of just share their ambitions with each other. Marion helps her get back in the house, sneak back in from the party, and they both just kind of express, oh, Peggy's like, I want to be a writer. I want to write a novel. I want to do this and that. And Marion thinks it's all so fabulous. She's just like, I just want to work. I just want to be busy. Even if it's only like this charity stuff they're letting me do, I just want to be busy at something. And so that happens. They have their little exchange. And then Oscar, cousin Oscar, he gets back over to his lover, who is John Adams, John Quincy Adams' grandson, the president's grandson, and he was gay in real life, and the two of them proceed to get it on, and so it's just very funny that they both seemed like they might have been or contenders for cousin Marion. It's funny because clearly Oscar is gay, but maybe he's supposed to be bisexual, but he seemed turned on by his cousin when he met her. But John, the one who they thought was going to be interested in her, he's clearly picked the other cousin, the male cousin. So it is what it is, and they get it on, and uh, they'll talk more about some things later. And then Marion, I'm sorry, Bertha, we see her basically crying herself to sleep. She's hopping mad because those horrible women did not come over to my house. I invited them, but I will show them. I will show them one day. And her husband is just like, "That's good, honey. I'm glad that, you're not letting this stop you." And again, that's like, even when he should not support her, he's just supporting her. She's being a whiny brat. They're being as awful to her as she is being to her old friends back home. And he's just like, "Yeah, you'll get them next time, kiddo. I'm glad that you're not giving up." And she's like, "I'll make them pay. I'll make them pay someday, I swear." And she's just like kind of curled up in the fetal position on her side, crying herself to sleep. And that's how that episode ended. So, you guys, I'm so excited that season 2 is starting October 29th. And so until it gets here, I will be here reviewing every episode leading up to it. So next week, I'll review episode 2, and I'll try to have like my pictures a little bit more in order. I think that episode 2 is a shorter episode. And then when we get down to episode 6 and 7, I'll have to review those together. No, yeah, and then I'll have to review episodes 8 and 9 together so that we can stay on track and be able to review episode 1 of season 2 the following day. So the episodes air on Sunday nights, and then we'll come back on Monday nights and we'll do our review. But in the meantime, what I'm also going to do is talk about the real people and the real events and the real places that are featured in this show, because there are a lot of fictional characters here, but they've mixed in like amalgamations of other people and other events, and they've like definitely taken elements of things that are real. And so on Tuesdays, on Tell It Tuesdays, when I drop my full scandals, that's what you all will get. So tomorrow, and I'm going to do it a lot like my Titanic content. So if you don't watch the show, but you're just here supporting, I really, truly appreciate it. But you'll still be able to get a separate piece of content that's related to the show, but you don't have to follow the show to follow that content. So tomorrow, I will drop my video about Seneca Village, which was one of the many villages that was razed, leveled, destroyed, demolished, whatever you want to say, in order to create Central Park. And Central Park is the opening. That's the first thing that's seen in the opening scene of the show. And I mean, how can you like make a series about New York becoming New York without featuring Central Park? Now, this happened 30 years before our show starts, but still, I think that is something worth mentioning. So that's why I'm going to do that. And I think that the week after that, I want to get into Stanford White, the architect who was a real person. And he had a very scandalous thing happen in his life. I will also talk about Miss Fish, who we saw in this episode, the lady with the crazy parties. She was a real person. And the episode with the 2 train tracks, that happened in real life. Obviously not with George Russell because he's not a real person, but George Russell seems to be an amalgamation of Jay Gould and Commodore Vanderbilt and probably J.D. Rockefeller. But so you'll see that some of the things that he did that seem like, crazier than fiction are things that happened in real life. So I will like talk about the things that actually did happen here. So let me just take a few little comments, and then we'll get out of here because the review is done, but this is how we're going to do this. So what are y'all saying? Hi, Plucky, and hopefully I can say all the hellos. If I haven't said the hellos, just start putting your comments in. I'll stay on for another couple of minutes. Let's see here. Thank you all for coming. Let's see here. Let's see. Hey, True Crazy Lights. It's such an interesting story you're covering here. Well, thank you. I hope that y'all like the scandals that I'll be dropping on Tuesdays after this. But what okay, so tell me while I'm here, what are some of y'all's predictions for season 2? What are some questions that you have from season 1 that you would like to see answered in season 2? Let me know that. Let's see here. I want to know what Turner and Oscar are going to be cooking up. That's what I want to see. Because those are two slithery people. Let's see here. What are you saying? Yes, that was such a waste of food. Oh my gosh, did y'all see that? I couldn't even get it all in there. I couldn't get all the food in the shot. Let's see. Let's see. There. Yeah, I could not even get all that was like so much. So much food. Let's see. Thanks for this. I love this show. I'm dying to find out about the valet. Yes. Yes. I want to know, you guys. Like, I think that he was a rich person and maybe he was able to get a position as a valet because he used to have a valet. So he knows what they are, so he knows what they do. Maybe that's what happened. Like, what happened? And who is that young lady he was looking at? Is that his daughter? Or, oh my gosh, like I have so many things that like what if he oh my gosh, y'all. What if he was having an affair with the lady of his house and the girl that he was looking at was his daughter from the affair and the man, the master of the house found out and that's why he had to leave and that's why he knows what Turner is up to. That's why he knows what Turner is up to because he used to be doing the same thing. What if that's what it is? Y'all, what if that's what it is? Oh my goodness. Because he is keeping an eye on the way that she is keeping an eye on him. What do y'all? Oh my gosh, did we just figure it out? Oh my goodness. That yeah, I am very interested to know. Oh my gosh. Y'all, what if that's what it is? Because you know what? You know what? Honestly, you got now this I know that this is not true, but if you used to watch Downton Abbey, type a 5 in the chat if you used to watch Downton Abbey. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but Carson, the way that he used to dote on Mary, I'm like, well, damn, did Cora have an affair with Carson? Like, why is she his favorite? Like that Mary, like she's like his favorite, like way too much. He just dotes on her way, way, way too much. Like, is that his child? Is that what we're gonna find out? So, like, anyway, so I'm just I'm just going off on a completely different tangent. Hi, Weslin and Ozark Lisa. I'm just saying, you guys, like, but oh, y'all, what if that would be good? That would be good because Julian Fellows, he's good for that. Mixing those upstairs downstairs relationships. Otherwise, in Downton Abbey, we wouldn't have had Tom and Sybil get together. And remember that Jimmy guy who came and worked for them, how he was found in the bed with that lady, whatever kind of title she had. He was getting it on with her. Julian Fellows is good for those kinds of storylines. He's good for that kind of a thing. I'm just saying it could happen. It could happen. Let's see here. What else are y'all saying? Man, y'all, if that happens, remember you heard it here first. Yeah, I hope that she finds her baby as well. I really hope, and we're talking about Peggy now, and I hope that her family is able to mend everything. I don't want to see her dad just get cast off because I think that his intentions are good, but he's just trying in a controlling way to make everything right for her. He's going about it the wrong way, but I think he loves her. I want to see their whole family stay intact. He wants her to take over his pharmacy. And look, this show starts in 1882. Slavery ended across the nation in 1865, and we're talking about a black man who owns a pharmacy and who has a beautiful brownstone and has his own servant and everything. Like Peggy's family, like this is an upper class black family living in Brooklyn. I would love to see them like stay together and just figure it out, work through their issues. But I do want her to to get her baby. I don't want to see her dad cast off. I want them to have some hard conversations and make it work. On another note, who wants all the cool beds and rugs in these houses? Me. I want everything. Like I want all of their stuff. I want all their stuff. And all of their dresses except for Bertha's. Bertha's wardrobe is hideous. Those people needed social media to keep them busy and out of others' beds. Look, that's the thing that, like, it just seemed like work in a house like that was never ending. Like, I can't imagine how servants, unless they were dating each other under the same roof, how they like got to have a life, because like they're on call 24/7. So it's like she should have been busy, but she's too worried about trying to get in bed with Mr. Russell that she's just not being busy. She should be busy while she's doing all that complaining about how Bertha doesn't have her shit together. Girl, that's your job. You're supposed to be schooling her. So she just wasn't doing it. She had plenty to stay busy. She just wasn't doing it because she's a hussy. Okay, somebody type hussy in the chat. No, let's see here. Yeah, I hope she finds her husband. I hope she finds her husband. I hope that they get it all together. Let's see here. I just need to know how everyone goes to the bathroom in those houses. And so I'm guessing like the extremely wealthy would have had indoor plumbing by this time. This is the 1880s. I'm pretty sure that they would have had. Yeah, I think that they were living well enough to have had indoor plumbing. And okay, so think about this, you guys. Did anybody here? I loved, as a child and an adult, Little House on the Prairie. This is the same time as that. This is happening in that same time frame. And if you remember the Olsons, there was an episode where they got indoor plumbing. It didn't go so well. They had some kinks that they had to work out. But so it's highly likely that in this part of New York City, that those wealthy people would have had indoor plumbing. Was that a blue stone fireplace in the New Money home? I believe that was a blue marble fireplace, but there definitely was two blue fireplaces in the New Money home, in the New Money palace that the Russells built. Absolutely. Let's see here. And I'm just going through y'all's comments. This is going to be fun when the new season starts, but it's fun now already. We toured a castle with a whole wall of intricately carved wood, cleaning it. Yeah, like, can you imagine? Right. There's no such thing as a weekend. Exactly. Exactly. That reminds me of Violet in Downton Abbey, when Matthew said that, oh yeah, I'll be able to help you run the estate. I have my job, but I have the weekends off. And cousin Violet's like, weekend? What is this weekend? Like, man, spoken like a person who's never worked a day in their life, who lived off of generational wealth forever. Let's see here. Yeah. What? No, Little House on the Prairie. They had their outhouse. They had outhouses. The little commoners in Walnut Grove. Let's see. I love Little House on the Prairie, and I had the biggest crush on Michael Landon. That was a good looking man. And I was so sad when he passed away. Michael Landon was good looking. Let's see. Maybe that's why she wasn't working for an aristocratic anymore. Maybe she slept with her. No, she died. Remember now, and if we are to believe Turner, which I believe that they definitely would have been able to verify this, the lady died, and that's why she's not working for her anymore. So, but it doesn't mean that she wasn't sleeping with her husband also. But she died. That's why she stopped working for her. Let's see. What about reading your mind? Let's see. Oh, thank you, True Crazy Lion. Thank you. Violet is a boss bitch. She is. That's my dogs playing. They are like trying to bite each other's faces off. All I see is teeth. It's really scary, actually. Let's see. Wow, in the 70s, Tammy. That's crazy. Yes, Ozark. Lisa says Michael Landon apparently really loved walking around with no shirt on. He was so handsome. He did. I would love those scenes, watching Pa out there chopping up wood or doing whatever he was doing, as long as he was sweating and with no shirt on. Those were the best scenes on Little House on the Prairie. Oh yeah, and then they would teach you some kind of moral lesson. But beyond that, my favorite scenes were his shirtless, sweaty scenes. Shout out to Pa. Man, what a great looking guy. Okay, you guys, that is it for this one. Thank you all for coming and hanging out with me tonight. My fur babies sound so cute. They sound like maniacs out here. So I will finish up the video that I have to get out to you tomorrow about Seneca Village in Central Park, and I'll be working on other stories that are related to this. And this definitely ties into my Titanic content. Think about it. Miss Astor, right, is the queen of the socialites. And who was the richest person to die on the Titanic? John Jacob Astor. There are so many connections to this show and my Titanic content. The people on the Titanic were the children and grandchildren of the people on this show. So lots of things, lots of connections to be made there. Let's see here. I'm so glad that y'all are excited about it. So I'll be doing this, and I think that I'll be doing some, as the new season starts, I might do some quick predictions, live streams, and some character breakdown. Not live streams on those, but just make some separate videos about character breakdowns and predictions for the next episodes, and what did we hope to see or whatever. So we'll get back with episode 2. If you were not already watching this show, what are you waiting for? But if you are not already watching the show and you're still here just watching me, I truly thank you for your support. You're a real one. That must mean you're just down with me. But I'll try to keep you all, tuned in, and I'm trying to make it fun for everybody, so whether you watch the show or not, hopefully I can cover it in a way that you can still be entertained. If you're just going to hang out with us, I thank you all. That's all that I got, other than ashtray bitch. Ashtray bitch, you are hilarious. The fact that is still your name, that's a line from some ridiculous ass Tyler Perry movie, from some abusive man who asked for his lover to fetch him an ashtray, and rather than saying, "Honey, will you please hand me an ashtray?" he said, "Ashtray, bitch." And so that is her name. And that makes me laugh to this day. So beyond that, you guys, I will be creating. I gotta work on finishing my new dog. He's crazy. He won't bark at Indy, but he makes these crazy growling noises at her. They are ridiculous. Anyway, I'm glad that y'all had fun. Thank you all for coming. I too am excited about this season. Thank you, Plucky. Thank you, Ozark, Lisa, and Ashtray Bitch, and Tammy, everybody who's here. Thank y'all for hanging out. Let's see. Tune in tomorrow, 4:00 p.m. for the Seneca Village Central Park scandal. And beyond that, I just want to say good night. And I have the same request that I always have. Well, 2, share all my content because it's fabulous. Share it on all your social media, and shower the people you love with love. Holler.